Hello everyone, it's Anadelna and Creature back with another episode of Interview with Dhampir. What episode are we on?
We're on episode 3. We're going to be going over the magic of the vampires in the Masquerade. We're going to go over Vlad the Impaler, and we're going to go over Yu-Gi-Oh, the archetype of vampires.
Oh. Alright, anything else we need to go over for this intro?
No, not really.
Okay.
So, just starting off with a bit of general information yet again, we're going to go over reflections and vampires. As talked about a little bit in our coverage of the Venthyr of Revendreth last episode, vampires typically do not cast reflections or shadows, as to do so would be the world and the sun acknowledging their existence. This was common in vampire myth of old because mirrors were made from silver, which in the eyes of the various authors was too pure to ever be tainted by the image of a beast, and just carried over to us of the present when silver is not our main reflective surface. Some take this even further, like the La Sombra or other vampires who cannot be depicted through cameras or even reflections in water. Any questions?
I like that picture. I like how the cup is floating there.
That's true.
But I do find it kind of weird that their clothes aren't shown either.
Yeah?
Like, sometimes you'll see it in different depictions, like, it'll just be the clothes floating there, and you just won't see where their, like, skin would be.
Usually the clothes do appear in the mirror, yes.
Yeah, this one's just weird. Bad
That's
depiction.
a weird image. That's true. That's true.
That's true. Alright.
Nothing else?
No.
Alright. So we'll get into the Masquerade and the vampire magic and powers. The most common magic and power a vampire will have is the ability to turn the blood, or vitae, as it's called in the Masquerade, of a human into immortality and as fuel for their abilities. The second most common ability is to delude themselves into thinking they are above the only thing keeping them alive. Baseline vampires are stronger, faster, and more knowledgeable than humans, as comes with time. To be drained by a vampire is called a kiss within the Masquerade, or feeding. It is generally pleasant, except by the Hecata due to their bane, and their saliva closes the wound, so all evidence is lost of the feeding soon after. What's up?
Is that lore from Vampire the Masquerade?
Yes, this is the Masquerade.
Okay. Oh, right, it says Masquerade right up there. Okay. I didn't know that their saliva closed the wound.
That is very common in vampire lore.
And so do the people that they feed on, do they remember being fed on, or?
If the vampire allows it, yeah. Mm-hmm. Generally, they go for people in like weakened moments. So someone going for your neck and then feeling good after they've gone for your neck just kind of gets written off. So they don't have to mess with your memories, but they can if they want to.
Interesting. I don't know how they can make it so that being a bit hard enough to pierce your flesh and drain your blood is pleasant, but...
Well, that's just vampires. It just feels nice.
Go off, queen.
What do you think of blood being called vitae?
I feel like it's a play on vitality.
Yes.
So...
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's neat. That's a good thing to call it. I mean... Are they draining their actual blood, or are they just draining their life essence?
Blood.
Okay.
And the blood is used as effectively a mana bar. So whatever blood isn't keeping you alive is used as fuel for your abilities and stuff. So if you want to punch harder, you should have drank some blood earlier so that you can use that in order to fuel your muscles. Muscles.
Muscles.
Any other questions or comments about this panel?
No.
All right. Vampire powers. A vampire is in a constant state of stasis. They will not age, grow, or really change at all after being embraced, which is what it's called to be turned into a vampire, just growing paler and thinner during the initial change. They do have powerful regeneration abilities, so if they lose an arm, they can grow it back after a time, or faster through the use of vitae. Though nothing will allow a vampire to beat their weakness to fire or the sun permanently. If the damage is too great, a vampire can enter a state called torpor, which is a hibernation that allows a vampire to recover while they sleep, though this can last centuries. As we talked about before, vampires sleeping through the centuries because they get bored. Torpor is the thing that they use to do that. Any questions or comments about this panel?
So...
Torpor.
Jesus Christ, that was loud. So if the damage is great enough, they can enter that state. What exactly does that entail? What exactly can kill a vampire from the Masquerade?
If they lose enough blood, that's an issue for them because they can't keep up their whole undead facade. If they lose a leg or an arm, that's pretty inconvenient, so they're going to want to wait until that regrows. If you stake them through the heart, that'll kill them. If you cut off their head, that's pretty inconvenient.
But they can still recover from having their head cut off?
I don't think so.
What if you fill them with bullets?
They lose blood. The act of shooting them doesn't kill them, but the act of losing the blood is pretty substantial.
Does it have to be a stake going through the heart, or can it just
wood.
be just wood?
Wood.
So why don't they make, like, wooden bullets?
They do.
Oh.
It's just a problem of, like, is a wooden bullet gonna pierce their skin and muscle?
Okay, well, what if it's like an arrow or a bolt from a crossbow? Like, the
They do
shaft
that
is
a lot,
made of
yeah.
wood. So would that work?
I think it runs off of, like, belief rules of, oh, the, like, crossbow thing is tipped with a bolt, so it doesn't count.
But what if it's a silver bolt head?
I don't think silver really affects vampires from the Masquerade as much. I'd have to look into that.
Okay. Well done.
Nothing else about torpor or hibernation?
No, I mean, I do get pretty eepy sleepy sometimes, so I can understand that.
That's true.
But that's to recover mental fatigue.
There you go. All right. Oh, to be clear, there is an exception to the they just grow paler and thinner during the initial change. There are certain other alterations that happen, like the Bogrel, Beargrel, the Bargle, the people. They turn more animalistic sometimes, like their ears will become spiked or something like that. And of course the Nosferatu. Alright, Vampire Clan disciplines. Animalism, Auspex, blood sorcery. Celerity, dominate, fortitude. Obfuscate, oblivion, potence. Presence, protein, and thin blood alchemy. There are going to be 4 slides after this where it's going to be as they're sorted now of animalism, Auspex, and blood sorcery. And but at the end.
Oh, at the end. Okay.
Yeah, it's the recommendations.
Oh, my bad, dog. Okay.
So I just want your opinion on what you think these abilities are and what they do. And as we go through, we'll see if you're right or not.
Okay. Animalism is turning into animals. Auspex. Good vision? I don't know. Blood sorcery is pretty self-explanatory. You're doing magic with blood, or that involves blood. Celerity is mind magic. Like clear-headedness, so being able to, like, wipe people's memories. Dominate is mind control. Fortitude is like how well you can take attacks. Obfuscate would be like not being able to be seen by cameras and pictures, things like that. Oblivion, I want to say that's just like death. Potence is strength. Presence is being able to, like, you're in a crowd, everyone's talking, you just say, hey, everyone shut up, and everyone listens because of your presence. Protean, I'm just going off of Pokemon rules, so, like, you can change the element of things or change your body structure, and Thin Blood Alchemy is alchemy that has to do with vampires that, like, aren't full vampires?
I'd give you like a 40%.
Damn, okay.
All right, so we'll begin. Animalism. Animalism is the discipline that allows you better control over animals, such as being able to speak on the level of an animal. And because we've chosen to talk about the power specifically, I'll have my handy dandy list of the abilities that you could use if you were one of these vampires. So the most common weakest power of an animalism is the ability to speak to animals, the ability to summon animals, and then as you get higher in the ranks, the ability to possess animals, and the ability to, when you are going to frenzy, instead of you going crazy, you force someone else to carry that burden of going crazy for you.
Damn, that
then
sounds pretty good.
You enter into advanced powers. Those were the common, these are the advanced. You get stuff like the ability to adapt to extreme situations. So like instead of dying in 10 seconds to sunlight, maybe you'll die in 12, or, you know, breathing underwater if that matters or something like that. The ability to extract more like power from an animal's blood. The ability to not only possess an animal, but go from possessing one animal to the next. The ability to, instead of just affecting animals, affect other supernatural creatures, like other vampires and stuff like that. Be able to see the beast within them so that you can better, like, call out different supernatural stuff. And I have to bring up the funniest two abilities that are like the highest rank of animalism. Number one, Army of Beasts. Control all animals within a mile.
Jesus.
And number two, plot device. All right, so Auspex.
I thought. So what's the one that makes you turn into an animal?
So Auspex.
Okay.
Auspex is the discipline that grants you supernatural senses. This one's pretty much. It's also conceptual, I guess. So like better eyesight, better hearing, better smell, but it also allows you to tell when people are lying. Mostly through like the beating of hearts, but of course vampires' hearts don't do that, so you can just kind of like smell a lot. You can determine like how good or bad someone's vibes are just off your aura sensing. Oh, you get telepathy. That's cool. Astral projection is a part of increased senses.
Yeah, of course. Why wouldn't it be?
Oh, you gain the ability to polyglot. You can just read every language. Automatically know the appropriate things to say in a conversation. That's sick.
That'd be pretty good. Clearly, I don't have that because I've got pretty bad vision.
Oh, God.
Oh.
One of the higher rank abilities of an Auspex is to enter into the Malkavian psychic network and be able to like call a meeting of high-ranking Malkavians.
Gross.
All right, and last but not least, the two highest abilities that a Auspex can have. Pulse of the Canele. Sense the attitudes, directions, and trends of groups of mortals as well as those who may be controlling them. So if you see like an establishment and you're like, who actually runs this? You can see the lines and the web of intrigue of every person within there and figure out exactly what's going on. And the second ability is plot device.
Of course.
Blood sorcery. All vampires delve into blood sorcery, but to have this as one of the disciplines of your clan means that you're better at it than almost everyone else. Using blood and vitae as fuel for magic is effectively what this is. You're just better at it. Stuff that you can do with this: burn the blood inside of someone's body, turn off someone's clan discipline, so if someone is, you know, auspexing you, you can just turn that off. Steal the blood that someone is using in order to use it for yourself. And higher ranking blood sorcery is of course going to remain just casting spells, but there is a higher level of blood sorcery which requires like reagents and rituals and stuff, which we'll get into later in a specific thing. Any comments or questions about animalism, Auspex, or blood sorcery?
Seems like all of them have a plot device of some sort.
I don't know what you're talking about. That doesn't even make sense.
Why is the symbol for blood sorcery like It looks like it's almost a star, but it's off-center.
This came out in like 2000, and it was a like D&D adjacent thing. So do you really think they're gonna have a full pentagram in something when everyone's like, oh my god, we have to protect our kids from this?
Fair enough.
Yeah.
No, I got nothing.
Alright. Up next is Celerity, Dominate, and Fortitude.
Dominate looks like a burger.
Dominate is chains. Celerity is the discipline that grants vampires super speed and better like physical reflexes.
Of course.
Oh, there it is. So as a better reflexes, better like speed, you can move faster, you have better balance, all that kind of stuff. You can learn how to teleport.
Of course.
Through being too fast. You can move so fast that you can determine how someone else is going to move. So if you're using a ranged attack, you can not miss.
You can just move so fast that you just guide the arrow.
The vampire can supersede the storyteller's narration and perform an action that only requires a few seconds. That's hilarious. You move faster than the narrator.
Of course.
That's so cute. And then, of course, you get to the advanced powers. No one who isn't as high ranked as you is going to be able to hit you with melee attacks because you'll be so fast. You can always parry them. You can use your super speed as super strength effectively by like punching 3 times the time it takes you to do 1. You can throw things at the same speed you move. Yeah, you're just really fast. Aw, their only highest ranking ability is plot device.
Of course. Blood Sorcery didn't have a plot device.
It did. I just skipped over it because we're going over it in a different one.
My bad.
Dominate. Dominate is the ability to overwhelm another person's mind with a vampire's will. So presence,
right.
Yeah, presence is as you said, you're in a crowd. If you speak, everyone's gonna listen. Whereas dominate is, it's just mind control. So some standard powers: give a single one-word order that a target must obey. Rewrite the memories of targets. Over time, make a target bend to your will. And then a possession to transfer your mind into another living being's mind. And just kind of puppet them from there. And then as you get advanced into it, you can just like make their stomach not work anymore, or turn off one of their legs if you want to, more like focused. An underlying mental command in order to make them listen to you more often. Again, just rewriting memories. You're able to remove someone from frenzy, so if someone's going blood crazy, you can just kind of force them to not do that.
That's intense.
Oh, if you're controlling someone and you're high enough in dominate, you can use that controlled puppet in order to control someone else. You can make your own web of intrigue. And the highest rank dominate abilities are Puppet Master, to override a target's mind completely and make them think and act as you. This can only be used once a year on a given victim. And Plot Device.
Like, you can only use it once a year?
On a single person.
On a single person once a year.
So like 9 times out of 10, it's always going to work. But if you're trying to use it on someone stronger than you, you get 1 chance a year.
Fair enough.
All right. And last, Fortitude.
Power word, Fortitude.
It's toughness. Your skin is thicker, your muscles are thicker, you're harder to hurt. And then, of course, conceptual abilities, as always. Your mind is also harder to mess with.
How much more stamina do you get?
So much.
Is it like 10% more?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, okay.
You can just ignore the beast within you for longer than most other people because, again, mental fortitude.
The beast. The power with.
You can turn off your senses if you think it would hurt you. Again, it's really just like the higher you become, the harder you can make your skin and the harder people will find to control you. Their highest ranking ability is plot device, in case you're curious. They don't have a specific ability.
Yeah, it's just all defensive stuff.
Any questions or comments about celerity, dominate, or fortitude?
The icon for celerity makes more sense since it's all like speed based.
That's true. Border.
Like there's the top bun, there's the bottom bun, and for some odd reason you're trying to squeeze 2 patties in there.
Oh no, I saw it immediately. Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Okay.
Borger.
No other questions?
No.
Okay. Next is obfuscate, oblivion, and potence. Obfuscate is a crime. It's a victim of one of the, like, just mashing a bunch of spells together in order to make a nice list of 12 abilities. It is the ability to make yourself unseen, but it is also the ability to mess with other people's minds in order to make yourself unseen. And then they take that, extrapolate it more to just messing with people's minds. So obfuscate is used by, of course, the Nosferatu in order to become completely invisible to other people, but it's also used by the Malkavians in order to make their clan, like Bane, of always being right all the time, make other people think that they're also right all the time.
Of course.
All right, obfuscate. You can become invisible. You can become invisible. You can change your appearance and mannerisms to mimic someone else. You can become invisible. You can make other people become invisible. And then your advanced powers is, instead of becoming invisible, people will just simply no longer be able to notice you.
I simply do not wish to be perceived.
There you go. You can become invisible and then have like a clone of yourself continue doing what that person thinks that you will be doing, so you can lose people even harder. You can write messages and become invisible. You can hide your aura so that people can't tell you're a vampire. And then the highest ranks, Jesus Christ, the highest ranking abilities of obfuscate is remove your existence from reality and plot device.
What do you mean? What do you mean by remove your existence from reality?
If someone ever took a picture of you, that's gone now. If someone ever mentioned you to someone else before, that memory is gone now. You simply do not exist in any way except how you perceive it.
What if next, they took a video?
It's gone.
Like, there's just a video of you, like, busting it down, doing the orange justice dance?
Yeah, they're now just recording a wall. You are removed from reality. Oblivion, yet another victim of the crime of combining things to make it more simple. Oblivion is used by the Hecata and the La Sombra. The Hecata use Oblivion in order to do their like necromancy stuff, and the La Sombra use it to do their shadow magic stuff. So yeah. The weaker abilities are Shadow's Cloak. You're able to use shadows on the ground as weapons, and disintegrate corpses,
like
and also see ghosts.
Wait,
what's up?
What's the name of the dude from Naruto that controls shadows?
It's Shikamaru.
It is Shikamaru. Okay.
You can summon supernatural shadows from the Shadow Realm. Don't worry about it. You can scry visions which show the death of non-vampires. You can see through a shadow, and you can have an aura of decay. You can walk through shadows, and you can decay someone's soul.
Of course, that's the natural next step.
Oh, they don't have advanced?
They got plot device.
They don't have plot device. Huh. Okay.
I mean, they're shadows, so, you know, obviously it's hidden.
The La Sombra are shadow. The Hecata are zombies and necromancy and stuff.
Zambos.
So yeah, you can raise undead, and I'm sure as you go higher ranked, you'll have more and more undead, and they'll be more and more powerful. And you can summon ghosts, and you can decay people, and the La Sombra are able to walk and see through shadows and use shadows to kill people, and blah 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 blah. Potence, super strength.
Ah,
Yeah,
I got that one.
no.
No.
All right. Super strength is you have super strength, you can jump high, you gain more strength. You gain more strength. What the fuck? You can feed harder.
Ooh.
You drain blood faster.
I guess that just means that they suck.
You can grab a flat wall. Like you can just grab a flat wall. And if you slam your foot on the ground hard enough, you create shockwaves. And then we get into the advanced powers. You can squeeze so hard, you leave imprints on solid steel. I thought vampires could already, whatever. You can jump higher. You can do the whole like jet fist thing where you punch so hard the air like compresses and shoots out as a bullet.
Based.
Not based.
What's their last one?
You can become immovable. The kindred performs physical feats of mythic proportion, and of course, the highest ability anyone specializing in potence can receive, plot device. Alright. Is there any questions or comments about obfuscate, oblivion, or potence?
Do you think that they could squeeze blood from a stone?
Yes.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of the stuff from obfuscate and oblivion could honestly be combined into one.
In what way?
They feel very similar.
In what way?
Your mama.
Tell me two abilities you think could be the same thing.
Erase yourself from existence.
Uh-huh.
Unable to be perceived.
Both of those were obfuscate.
Damn, I think they used obfuscate on my mind.
Oh, of course. Any other questions or comments?
No.
Okay. Up next is Presence, Protean, and Thin Blood Alchemy. Presence, as we said earlier, people just listen to you.
You're more noticed.
Oh god, this is an entire paragraph. Let's see where this goes as their very first ability. Is simple but solid. Once the vampire employs this power, those who are near him or her either want to become closer to him or her or shudder in fear. It is an immediate and intense attraction, but temporal and not so overpowering that those afflicted lose their sense of self-preservation. Danger breaks the spell of fascination, as does leaving the area. Victims will remember how they felt, though, and this will affect their reaction should they ever encounter the vampire again. Awe is extremely useful in mass communication. It does not matter what is said. The hearts of those affected will lean towards the user's opinion. That's their very first ability.
I feel like someone was just like paid to write all that out. Oh my god, maybe they were afflicted with awe.
Summon. The kindred compels someone to come to them immediately. The kindred appear as a figure of absolute power and authority. Where a charismatic vampire with awe may impress at a street corner or drink undisturbed in a back alley, the power of majesty can influence an area of effect like a small concert hall or theater full of people.
Jesus.
So it's just your domain becomes larger.
You expand your domain.
I was trying so hard not to mean it that way. People are forced away from you by your aura.
Damn. That's tragic.
Compel all the vampire's descendants' frenzy? Oh my god.
So what rank do you have to be able to control like an entire city or country?
Subliminally say different things to someone than what is heard publicly. You can be talking to someone privately while a bunch of people are standing right next to you, and all of them will hear different things except what you're actually saying to the other person.
Of course.
Lessen hostility and promote cooperation in a group. Fill someone with a guilt and desire to beg for forgiveness. Appear as the ideal person to whomever sees you.
Of course.
A perfect world. Make everyone in a city work towards making it your ideal city. Project an emotion into the residents of a city. And then their highest ranking abilities. Dream World. Project dreams and nightmares to everyone in the world.
This is a what?
And plot device.
Yeah, plot device.
All right. Presents had a lot.
Yeah.
These are like very simple, and then the conceptual stuff comes in. A Protean, you were so close. You don't change elements though. You do change the body. Like the clan of old dragons who want to make themselves the perfect vampires and will change humans in order so that like their next generation might be closer to their perfect like person they'd want to turn into a vampire, that kind of thing. Protean is a part of God's curse against Cain in the aspect that it peels away the facade of humanity everyone has to uphold.
Cain, like from the Bible? Like Cain and Abel? Or are we talking like Binding of Isaac Cain?
Cain is the first vampire.
Like
Cain...
from the Bible?
Yes. Cain, the first murderer, the man to kill Abel, is the first vampire.
Was Abel a vampire too?
No, he became a vampire after killing Abel. There, as we said before, this game is like a D&D like in a lot of ways. So there are rule books, and there are stat pages for enemies. The stat page for Cain, I'll put it in the next one just so you can see it. All right.
Okay.
All right. So the abilities of Protean: turn one's hand into dangerous claws, melt into the earth to hide and rest, transform into 2 types of animals,
Ooh.
Turn yourself into mist. And then higher ranking advanced abilities: adaptation, a flesh of marble, transform into a swarm of small creatures. You can make it so that you turn into mist instantly anytime you're attacked. You can cause shapeshifters to revert to their natural form when you tell them to, not when they decide. You can transform into a specific mythical creature. While you're in torpor trying to recover, you can move your own body through the use of Protean. You're way weaker, but you can do it. Violently expel foreign objects from your body, including stakes. Yummers. Split into 2 weaker versions of yourself. And then, of course, the highest abilities a Protean can receive. Body of the Sun. Transform your body into blazing indestructible fire. And say it with me now. Plot device. There it is.
Peak.
And then last but certainly not least, Thin Blood Alchemy. Can you guess who uses Thin Blood Alchemy?
Is it the Thin Bloods?
It's the Thin Bloods.
Oh my god.
Thin Blood Alchemy, because you, as a Thin Blood, you're so weak in vampire stuff that you can't actually use the disciplines of other vampires. You take your blood and you combine it with the blood of humans in order to increase the potency of it, and then you effectively are holding like a vial of a spell that you chanted into the blood, and you throw that at people. You can pretty much, like any ability that we've talked about before, you can imbue that into your blood. But of course, since you now have like magically enhanced blood that you can use stuff with, people will give themselves tattoos with it, blah 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 blah. If you drink human blood, you can cast the spells yourself, but it's better to just use the blood in the blood to blood.
The blood in the blood to blood.
Yeah. Any questions or comments about Presence, Protean, or Thin Blood Alchemy?
Do they not have advanced spells?
No.
Do they have plot device?
No.
I think I'd probably go with Protean myself.
Well, you get 3 in your clan. Yeah.
But aren't the clans like predetermined?
Based on your antediluvian,
yeah. I want Protean.
Okay.
Fine.
Okay. All right. Up now. Oh, did you have any comments, questions about Protean?
No.
Okay. Blood sorcery. As we said, we covered the basic abilities of blood sorcery. Now we'll get into like rituals and stuff. Vampires are capable of bending reality, which is magic. In the world of darkness, magic is just bending reality or rewriting the rules of reality through the use of burning excess vitae and a strong willpower. This can be quick casts, such as burning away another vampire's clan traits out of their blood in order to gain an advantage, or boil the blood in something's veins. For the more methodical minded, rituals use talismans and glyphs to augment and strengthen their magic. Typically, this just allows stronger versions of the magic that they are already using, but it can also allow control over plants, scrying, or the transfer of a soul. So like, if you're only a 3rd tier mage, you're allowed to cast like 5th tier magic if you're using rituals and you set it up over time.
What if you do tattoos?
Then you're a thin blood and you're not worth the blood flowing through your veins.
Okay, but what if you're not a thin blood? Can you just ask them for a tattoo to like enhance your magic? Like you could carve a sigil in the back of your hand that allows you to just like snap and set things on fire.
I have to kill you.
That's very fair.
So you can, it's rituals. Effectively, you can do magic with it. It's very broad. You want to set up a ritual circle to protect the house so that vampires can't enter it no matter how hard they try. There you go. You want to make a ritual that will specifically like clear the clouds in this one spot so that the sun will hit someone. There you go. It's magic.
Fair.
Any questions or comments about vampire magic?
No.
Up next is Vlad the Impaler for the real. This research session has caused me to rethink how I'm going to do the reel. Real people are probably not going to show up on the list that often because, my God, this was awful. All right, so Vlad, also known as Vlad the Third, or Vlad Tepes, or Vlad Dracula, national hero of Romania. Born
November
11/2/1431 in Romania, made his name on history 1461-ish, so when he was about 30, and then died December 14th, 1476, aged 45. So he made his name in his 30s, which means you can too. Oh, like, comment, and subscribe.
You forgot to do that. You got to use that domination magic.
Any comments, questions about this?
Not really.
Dracula is a title that he liked to use because Dracule is like clan of the dragon, so he's proud of that.
So, did he come up with Dracula, or did the story of Dracula already exist?
No, Dracula is based off of Vlad.
Oh.
Like, he is the inspiration for Dracula. He was a member of the clan of Dracule, which was like a high governing agency. And he was very proud of it. In his 30s, after he became Vlad the Impaler, he started signing official documents as Dracula. So he really liked the nickname.
Of course.
Can you?
No.
Childhood of Vlad. So when he was about 1 through 17 years old. He was the second son of Vlad II, brother of Radu the Handsome. Left to the Ottomans as a child as a means for his father to prove his loyalty, and even then, his father did not abide Ottoman rule, teaching Vlad that family or just those close to you are fine bartering pieces for more military power and personal power. That is Vlad II, the image at the bottom left, who was his father. During the time that he was like born and as a child, his father was being held on the crime of not following Ottoman rule enough. So he was summoned to the Ottomans and was told, hey, you're gonna let us take over the country that you rule, or we're gonna kill you. And he was like, whoa, keep my kids. If I fuck with you, kill my kids. I'm not gonna fuck with you because I don't want my kids to die. So they say, okay, they let him leave, and then he started fucking with the Ottomans.
Of course.
So he was effectively left to die by his father, which taught him a beautiful lesson. Any questions or comments?
No.
Formative years, 17 to 20. Upon the death of his father, Vlad III, or Vlad Dracula, blah, 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 the person we're talking about, took advantage of the Ottomans' expansionism and became the leader of Wallachia. By the end of the same year, Vladislav II, his cousin, who was previously ruling this before the Ottomans started attacking them, was returned to power because he came back. Vlad the Third thought that Vladislav II was dead, but by the end of the battle, Vladislav came back, swore fealty to the Ottomans, and was allowed to become the ruler of Wallachia again. Vlad had to flee back to the Ottomans. I don't think it was for like an actual reason. He was just kind of ashamed of the fact that he finally took back the place that his father was ruling, and then he lost, so he got mad about it, and he kind of like went into hiding for a bit. After living in shame for his defeat for a while, he followed a friend into Transylvania, where he distinguished himself in military service and was acknowledged to be in charge of defending the Transylvanian borders. His time in the Ottoman army taught him that terror tactics and overwhelming force were the greatest way to break and beat an enemy. During the time of guarding the Transylvanian borders, there was a lot of like getting on horses, going to like bandit camps and stuff like that. And the Ottomans would take the like living people and then stake them and like burn the corpses in front of the family members, and then sometimes they let the family members go, sometimes they wouldn't. And this is where he learned about like overwhelming force and terror tactics.
Jesus Christ.
It was a different time.
Apparently so.
You had to make a message, and you couldn't just make a tweet about it.
Odd comparison, but go off, I guess.
Any questions or comments about Vlad the Impaler's years of being 17 to 20?
No.
All right. More formative years from 20 to 30. On the back of a military takeover of Wallachia, and the leader was found dead this time. During the invasion, Vlad III once again ruled over Wallachia. A famous quote from early in the takeover in a letter sent to Romania asking for assistance if the Ottomans were to attack. God. Vlad III was still under Ottoman rule at the time that he took over, but he didn't want to be under them anymore, so he was making plans with other people who were also under the Ottomans. And the letter said, when a man or a prince is strong and powerful, he can make peace as he wants to, but when he is weak, a stronger one will come and do what he wants to him. So to establish himself as strong, thousands were executed for questioning his reign, and all the money of the criminals that he ended up killing through that ended up in the pockets of those closest to him and most loyal, thus showing he had learned all the lessons taught in his early years well. Any questions or comments?
Wait, so they considered them criminals because they didn't follow him blindly?
Yes.
So he just killed a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And took their money.
Yeah. Anyone who said they had a problem with Vlad's rule, or anyone who left Wallachia after he took over and were acting as refugees, he would talk to the rulers of the people around them and go, do you have Wallachian refugees? Yeah, we'll take them back. You don't need to worry about like feeding them or anything. We'll just take them back, and then send to the gallows.
Jesus.
Because they didn't respect his rule.
Obviously.
Any questions or comments?
No.
All right. Vlad the Impaler from the years 30 to 32. After some political tension, Vlad felt forced to invade southern Transylvania, and on this warpath, any man or woman captured was to be killed by impalement to show how strong they are and how scary it would be to be their enemy. And any Wallachian refugees who fled his peaceful, thriving country were to suffer the same fate. Soon the Ottoman Empire would follow, as in he would feel forced to invade, after trying to assassinate him during peacetime trade dealings. The war did not go well, so Vlad utilized scorched earth tactics, and any place or people his army met were put to the torch and then salted so that nothing could be gained by those trying to chase him. So the war didn't go well, so he had to retreat, but he had already made it well into southern Transylvania, so as he was retreating, burn and salt the fields.
And that's what scorched earth is?
Yes.
Now when you say impaled, like their just whole body was just impaled on a stick?
You know the butthole?
Mm-hmm.
You know the mouth?
Yeah.
You know a sharp stick?
Mm-hmm.
Starting from the butthole to the mouth.
Jesus.
While they are alive.
Horrible.
Yeah.
Right.
Any questions or comments?
So, are there numbers of how many people he killed?
No.
Okay.
This was in the 1700s.
I thought it was in the 1400s.
It was in the 1400s.
Okay. No, that's all I got.
Vlad the Ruler, 32 to 45. Not many historical documents survive that directly reference Vlad III, so it is just accounts of others' interactions with the leading people of Wallachia. He ruled with an iron fist and died at 45, having lived a long life, left in air, and leaving a very unique blood-stained stamp on history. And that's an image of Vlad II in court. One of the surviving pictures.
45 is a long life?
Yeah.
Fair enough, I guess.
Any questions or comments about the ages of 32 to 45?
No.
All right. Now I need you to get more bat-like and start hanging from the ceiling. I'm gonna need you to join me up here. Mm-hmm. You're gonna have to shrink a little bit. Yeah, you're gonna have to shrink a little bit. All right. Now we're good. Now we can start the final and best section. So here's what we're gonna do. We're going to be showing you images. I'm going to need you to read their names out, and I'm going to need you to describe the images for the people who are listening, okay?
Okay.
All right, let's go.
All right.
The myth of Yu-Gi-Oh! Here are some honorable mentions.
So there's the Vampire Hunter, which... That's just Castlevania.
Do you know who makes Yu-Gi-Oh?
Konami.
Do you know who made Castlevania? Konami.
Oh, okay. So that's why he looks like one of the characters from Castlevania whose name I can't remember.
Alucard?
Is it Alucard? I guess he does look like a vampire that is hunting other vampires.
Oh no, it's like... Whip. Oh god, they're in Smash Bros. Richter?
Simon and Richter.
Simon and Richter, yeah.
Yeah. Then there's the vampiric koala, which for some odd reason he's got a little cape.
He does.
He's got claws.
That's true.
Got sharp teeth, and he has a Batman tattooed on his forehead, or Batman symbol.
That's true.
So the vampire is dark. Element?
It doesn't matter.
And vampiric koala is earth. Then there's the patrician of darkness, which is a vampire wearing armor, but his skin is blue. Mm-hmm. He got them big ears.
That's true.
And then overpowering eye, which is clearly a vampire with big eyes in the back, like the eyes from Scary Face from Pokemon.
You're gonna notice my slime is on top of cards. Can you pick your favorite art from here?
Vampire Hunter.
Okay. Can you guess what my favorite art was?
The koala?
Yes, the koala.
Oh, wow.
Any questions or comments about these?
No.
Okay.
Well, they all have the orangish brown background, so they're all effect cards.
They're all monsters.
Well, no, the non-effect monsters have a yellow card background.
No.
Yes.
No.
You're just wrong, Widow.
That's true. I do be wrong.
Okay, move on.
Alright. The original Yu-Gi-Oh! Manga. A hired assassin acting as a teacher to stop the unstoppable Yugi from becoming king of games. She uses a vampire deck. Most of the cards in her deck were not made into TCG cards, but we can appreciate an early adopter of the vamps. You see Evil Eye of the Coercion?
Yeah.
You see Overpowering Eye?
Mm-hmm.
Do those look similar to you?
Yeah. An Eternal spell card.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's Vampire's Curse. Got a wing. Bloodsucker and Blood Curse. Crap card.
That's true. What do you think of Bloodsucker? And what do you think of her design?
He looks like a gargoyle. Honestly, she's got a very normal design for a Yu-Gi-Oh character. I dig it. Is that why you're on her head?
Oh, yeah, she is my favorite art. That is true.
Of course.
She's mind controlled by Vampire's Curse.
Yeah. Just like the card.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else?
No.
Alright. The original Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. Oh, we're going based on like chronological time. So like we're gonna be going through the years. So it starts with the manga, then it goes in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime, then it'll go from there. The original Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. Within the original anime, there were only 3 vampire cards, and they just fell under the distinction of zombies. Thus, we only see them take center stage under the zombie duelist bonds, which is bottom left. Kaiba does use Vampire Lord, but respect for the vampire's power does not make him one.
Real.
So, you know how it goes. Do you like Bond's design?
No.
That's fair.
He looks like a rejected Sonic character.
That's mean.
Yeah.
And what do you think of Kaiba?
Kaiba has that aura.
Okay. You're
Kaiba
right.
fucks.
Any other questions?
No.
Cards out during original anime. So this is from 2000 to 2004.
There's Vampire Lady, who... Why are they always blue? I guess I shouldn't say always. There's a very interesting dress with, like, wings?
It's like little tassels that go from... It's effectively the dress is connected to the wrists of the dress.
Vampire baby. I was talking about that before. So yeah, if a baby is turned into a vampire, they grow the fangs.
Oh my god.
Vampire Genesis. He's a big boy. And Vampire Lord, which I assume is your favorite, probably because of his cape.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a big fan of Vampire Baby. What's your favorite art?
Honestly, it's a tie between Vampire Lady and Vampire Baby.
This is horrible. So during this time, as we talked about during the anime thing, it was just zombies, effectively.
Yeah.
Like, they're just big monsters in a zombie deck. So were there any questions or comments?
No.
Alright. Up next is the GX anime. Within the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX anime, Kamula was the main person to use vampires for her deck. Her deck was heavy on sacrificing life and monsters, but of course she would never use her own monsters for such sacrifices, so she would use bystanders or her opponent's monsters for those heavy sacrifices. This effect of sacrificing opponent's monsters became a mainstay of the archetype, and I will give that to her. She's effectively like a human version of Vampire Lady, which is why I have the image right there. And what I mean by bystanders or the opponent's monsters, I mean people watching the duel would just die to sacrifice in order for her to summon her higher level monsters.
Yeah, of course.
Of course. Any questions or comments?
No.
That's fair. Cards that came out during GX. Do you remember Vampire's Curse?
Yeah. That was one of the scrapped ones from before, right? From the manga.
It's from the manga, yeah.
And then Vampire Dragon. I don't like how that looks.
So Vampire Dragon has a very funny history. It was during a point in time where they were like taking in images from kids drawing Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and then they would make a card based off of that artwork. Vampire Dragon is one of those cards. It's technically not within the vampire archetype, but I ran out of space for it in the honorable mentions and had a funny story to tell with it, so I just kept it here.
I do remember that there was an episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX where he was talking about, like, he drew cards and submitted them, and one of them was, like, the Dandelion.
Hey, Dandelion's a pretty good card. Great for synchros. Came out in the very next show.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's neat. I didn't know about that, or else I would have submitted cards.
Base.
It would have been a vampire.
Anything else you want to say? Well, what's your favorite art?
Between the two vampires, I do not like how Vampire Dragon looks.
That's fair.
He does not look like a friend.
That's true. Anything else?
No.
Okay. Cards that came out during Zexal. Zexal was when XYZ monsters were introduced. It was the number hunting. It was the little boy with the like glowing blue guy, and they were, you know.
Was that the one where they were on motorcycles?
No, that was a different one. It was before this. No vampire cards came out during the Synchro era. So that's why we skipped it and went to Zexal. It's original Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, and then 5Ds, and then it's Zexal. Yeah, you can't read that at all.
Crimson Knight Vampire Braum.
Yeah, that's why I wrote it above it.
Oh, of course.
So
Shadow Vampire, Vampire Grace, and Vampire Dupe. I don't like the Crimson Knight Vampire.
No.
I like the fang motif on the armor and the shield. The sword looks cool.
Does the Shadow Vampire and the Vampire Braum look similar?
They do.
They do. Do you want to describe the arts?
Sure. The Vampire Knight, Vampire Braum. It looks like an 80s rock star with the long hair. There's purple armor, fangs on everything, sword with wings, and I've seen that like spiky bit on a lot of vampire stuff before, and I don't know what it's supposed to represent.
Exsanguination.
Oh, of course. The shadow vampire just looks very. I think it is because you can see the sword down there.
Shadow vampire is the shadow of Vampire Brahm.
Oh.
It doesn't come out well in the art, but vampires don't have shadows. Like, you'll never see a shadow of a vampire except during the full red moon, which is behind Vampire Baby, and then they can use that to manifest a shadow vampire of themselves.
Neat.
Yeah.
Vampire Grace is just like Queen Elizabeth, big poofy ball dress with the claws going around it. She's holding a glass of green. I feel like it should have been a glass of red, but they probably wouldn't have been able to get away with
They
that.
errata it, yeah. Or they changed the art.
Errata?
Errata, E-R-R-A-T-A. It's like changing the card text, but I used it incorrectly here. A lot of the art for vampires got changed from Japan to America. Like the art on the Crimson Knight and the Shadow Knight, those were crosses, but of course you would never want crosses on American card games.
Of course. He's also got a scepter, which looks pretty cool, and then there's Vampire Duke. I can't tell if he's wearing a mask or not.
He's not.
But he's got the blood moon behind him. He's all stanched up. He's got the aura.
Sure. And do you see the red moon behind him?
Yeah, I said that.
Yeah. And you see the castle behind him?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think my favorite is Shadow Vampire.
Can you guess who my favorite is?
It's a Vampire Duke.
It's Vampire Duke.
Of course.
Alright. Up next is more cards from Zexal. Go ahead.
There's Vampire Sorcerer, where they're wearing a witch hat, they've got a staff. And then Vampire Takeover is that same character, but they're standing on top of a castle?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a bubble in front of them. There's Vampire Kingdom, which might also be the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what they're standing on is the castle in the background.
Do you see how it's a, like a, not a full moon?
Yeah, it's crescent moon.
The sorcerer is changing the landscape in order to become the Vampire Kingdom and changing the moon to a blood moon.
Then there's the Vampire Vamp, where it's a girl laying on a bed and she's got wings. I really like the armor.
Yeah, the Vampire Vamp is, again, artist changed. It was meant to be half vampire, half succubus, which is why the wings are there.
And on the bed.
The middle piece of the armor is gone, so it's exposed skin, and those symbols are crosses again.
Yeah. I like both of them because I really like the armor, but I do really like sorcerers.
Yeah.
I'd have to give it to the Vampire Sorcerer.
Fair enough. Any questions or comments?
What does that symbol on spell card mean? Is that just
It's
a field spell?
Yeah.
Okay.
And now we're done with the Zexal, so that was the entire Zexal line.
Jesus.
So now we're moving to V-Reigns, which was when Link Monsters came out.
Oh, we love Link Monsters.
We love Link Monsters.
The Vampire Sucker, which doesn't really look like a vampire.
Mm-hmm.
He's got wings with spikes coming out of the wings, bunch of bats in the background. Yeah. Dhampir Vampire Sheridan! Just like me! He's wearing a white. He's got a couple of the hook things that the other vampires had. He's got one glowing eye. Glowing red. It's got red eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Blood moon in the background. It looks like his cape is turning into bats.
Yeah, it does that.
And there's a vampire retainer, which is half doggo, half like shadow demon.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a vampire familiar, which is just little bat creatures, and they're cute. I like the vampire familiars.
What his cape is turning into, yo.
Yeah. I think I like the vampire familiars the most. They're
fair.
cute. I like them.
So, a bit of lore. The vampire Link monsters aren't vampires. They eat vampires. That's why she is the vampire sucker, That's why the moon behind her is a clear full moon and not a blood moon. And she is less vampire, more like bat anthropomorphized. That's why she has the bat ears, the bat wings.
Oh, she does have the bat ears.
The Link monsters do not like the vampires, but they're part of the archetype.
Of course.
The vampire familiars are cute, and the cape does turn into bats, as you'll see in a second.
And he's a Dhampir.
That's true. Any questions?
What does the black background mean?
It's an Xyz monster.
Oh, of course. Okay. Ooh. The Vampire Scarlet Scourge. They've got a sharp scepter. They got bats coming out of their capes. Vampire's Desire looks like the same character.
It is.
They're like folding up in their cape, probably gonna take a nap. The Vampire Fraulein. She's got a bat umbrella with fangs on the end. She's got a very cute dress. And then Vampire Awakening, I think that might be her. Yeah, it's her still. She's laying on a bed that's like very vampire themed. You can tell that there's a blood moon because of the light coming through. Actually, maybe not, because only the floor is red, so it might just be red carpet and the rest is. Yeah, I like the Vampire Fraulein too.
So the Vampire Scarlet Scourge looks a lot like Alucard because it's based on Alucard. The Vampire desires his Fraulein, which is why the Fraulein is turned and she Vampire Awakens.
Oh, so he desired to have a Fraulein and she awakened into one.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments about these?
No. Vampire Domination. There's a lot going on there and it's not very clear.
I did my best to find art.
Oh, they got the doggo! Got two doggos and bats. With a blood moon. I just can't really tell what's going on with them. The vampire.
It's the Dhampir in front of a blood moon with two retainers and the familiars around them.
I didn't realize it was the Dhampir.
Yeah.
There's the Vampire Red Baron. Very. Is the horse a vampire? The horse has fangs. I can't tell.
Very Vlad the Impaler coded.
You got red and, gold and black. I really like the lance. I think that looks really cool. The Vampire Crimson. You'll never guess what two words were combined in order to make Crimson. Is it Crimson and Grim? Grim Reaper, yeah. I really love that outfit. I don't really care much for the hood, but I think that all works together really well. The wings, the long coat that isn't like just a robe, and then Vampire's Domain is just them from behind. I really like that scythe. Yeah? That scythe looks very nice. Very bat-coated. You've got the spiked tail, you've got, looks like tiny wings coming off the edge, and then just sharp scythe with the wing motif there. Vampire Crimson is my favorite. That's fair. Any other questions or comments? No. And then we move on to Sevens, which is, I think, the newest? Yeah, I think it's the newest because it's about the Rush Duel stuff. You have... Oh, sorry. I was just yawning. The Vampire Voivode. Also very busy card. They've got a trident, which looks cool. They've got blue flames. Is that a demon behind them? Demon dragon?
It's the Void.
The Void. The Void hungers.
The Void, yeah.
Yeah. The zombie vampire.
Who is Vampire Void?
Yeah. Wings and all that. It's so hard to see.
Very.
Because of just the lines from it being holographic. The Vampire Fascinator. I feel like she's not a vampire. The vampires are just fascinated with her.
Close.
And then the Vampire Ghost. Oh, sorry. She's wearing a purple dress. Her stomach is exposed and her legs, and she's holding her purple hair.
Red hair, the color.
Red hair, yeah. The Vampire Ghost, which is the ghost of a vampire. I really like his outfit. I'd agree that the Vampire Ghost is my favorite.
Yeah. The Vampire Fascinator works with the Vampire Sucker. If you drink the blood of the vampire fascinator, you enter like either a comatose state, or you'll just do what she says, and then the sucker will kill you.
Of course.
The zombie vampire and vampire of a void is some like timeline of the void taking over a vampire and then becoming a zombie, kind of.
Oh, void as in void and void.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else about these?
No.
And of course, the ghost is
Pretty cool.
a ghost who got turned into a vampire.
However that works.
However that works. Any questions or comments?
No.
And this week, you'll never believe it, we got another old vampire awakened from the crypts in order to read off our topics. It's insane. It's so good.
It's so good.
Are you ready?
Mm-hmm. You want me to play it now?
Yeah.
Here are the recommendations for the next interview with a Dhampir. For the myth, we have Elder Scrolls, DC, and Infamous. For the Masquerade, we have more on the clans and the Masquerade itself. Lastly, the real, we have Van Helsing, Chupacabras, and the dreaded Mosquito. Until next time, suck you later, juice bags!
This guy would make an excellent vampire.
So we want to thank the old vampire that we woke up for this, and we also want to thank Sky Axons the person.
Mm-hmm. Anything else?
Choose.
Oh, I have to choose. My bad, dog. I'm gonna say Infamous. The Masquerade. And a Von Helsing. Oh, what? You don't like Von Helsing?
I don't.
Okay, then we'll go with Chupacabra.
Thank God.
I can't roll my R's that well.
Chupacabra.
Chupacabra. You know what I mean?
Alright, so thank you for watching. We hope that you like, comment, and subscribe. We hope that the information is getting to you well. If it's too dense, let us know. And if you would prefer it to be denser, let us know. Alright, bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.